Good morning, everybody. Good morning. TGIF. You got that right. I thought I'd open it up this morning with a slightly new layout. Instead of the side view or the rear view or the monitor with the live stream that's currently going on, I just thought I'd come right on here bold-faced and try out StreamYard's new little edition of that little bit of chat that just kind of overlaid on the bottom of the screen. It shows maybe the last 5 entries. What do you think? I think that's pretty cool. And I can turn it off like this, and I can turn it back on again like that. And I think that may be a good compromise between showing no chat and maybe some chat. It's brand new. Today's the first day they're doing it. There's no way I can set the number of lines in that chat. It is like 5 entries, the last 5 entries, and that's what it is. But I'm sure they'll make it, give me more choices and more buttons to push. And I like that. So, but I'm looking at the whole chat on my screen. I'm getting ahead of myself. This morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch. It's me, Mitch. Drink it if you got it. And I got my humongous grumpy old man cup here this morning because it's been that kind of week. Wow, 81 people here already. Holy cow, how'd that happen? That's crazy this early. Is Kelsey done? Last I saw, they were going strong. It didn't look like they're going to be done, but I closed that window over there so I can't see it. Let me take a quick look. And see if Kelsey's done. Or you can just tell me. But you're not watching Kelsey now. You're watching me. I think the rumors that I've lost my mind, maybe some truth to that. Oh, what a roller coaster this week. What a roller coaster. Hang on, let me see here. I don't want to ignore you too long, but let me just see what happened. Then I got to go through the whole thing to find it again. Here it is.
This pisses me off. They don't want you to know this.
That's an ad.
You know that
that's an ad on Kelsey's channel. Let's see. Is he still online? Skip the ad.
Emily is doing really well right now.
They're still going strong.
Oh, yeah.
Still going strong. There they are. And
good morning, everyone. This is
oh no, was that the replay now? Yeah, that was the replay. Okay, they're finished. Back to me. I swear, the last time I looked, maybe that's why I got so many people here. I swore he'd never get done. He had the way they were going, they were still taking questions. It was 30 seconds before me to go on, and I had a thought, but I guess not. I had a thought that maybe I should change my live stream to 7:30 instead of 7 and not have to worry about whether they're done or not every day. So that at 7:30 we're all ready to start. It's just a thought. So let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts. If you think that might be better for you, doesn't matter to me. 7:30. I like 7 because I'm done early. But I don't know if that extra half hour would make much difference. So I'm looking at the chat. Now I got 2 chats up there because I went back to that screen instead of this screen. That's what I get for redecorating. There's 2 chat sessions, says Lambs. Yeah, I know. I knew that was going to happen. I have to kind of redo some of the screens on some of these buttons if I decide to use this instead of the other. But for right now, I'm going to fumble a little today, I think. And Kiltsy's here. Kiltsy, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Mont Tremblant, you're up in Canada. Yeah. Wow. In the house with Mitch. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Always good to see you, my friend. We should touch base later today, maybe, if you get a chance. Yeah, give me a call or text me or something. Hey, brother, I am awesome. I'm back from Spain. Yeah, where you? I've missed you. It's been a very tumultuous week for me, as I'm sure you're sure of that. And I thought maybe we weren't all right. Somehow our friendship is going to be affected because of minor differences of opinion that we have. I sure hope that's not the case. I hope you realize that. But we should talk. Definitely. You may notice this morning that Rick is among us. You may say to yourself, unless you were on the private live stream last night, you may say to yourself, I thought Mitch kind of hid Rick from the channel yesterday. Boy, this Mitch is a fickle guy, isn't he? Man, hot under the collar. Triggered very easily. Makes rash decisions. And mea culpa, my friends. Mea culpa. That's probably very true. Do I occasionally react? Absolutely. The main difference between me and most everybody else I know is that I'm very aware. I'm very aware of what I've already decided is a form or a subset of PTSD that I suffer from. It's not, I don't consider it a mental illness. I consider it just the consequences of traumatic experiences over a lifetime that never go away. I've told you about so many of them because I'm aware that it is a problem. I have a problem. There's nothing I can do about it. I tried psychiatry way back, psychology way back. I'm just damaged. I'm damaged in a lot of ways. And we're all damaged in so many ways. It's not our fault in most cases. But that doesn't mean, like anybody that's been abused, that you don't live your life kind of just trying to get your defenses ready for the next time. It makes you, some people say, makes you touchy. It is what it is. I'm damaged by bad dietary advice all my life, as we all are, and we're all paying the price. The problem is, once the damage is done, in many cases, we can't reverse it. And then, depending on how much of this we've suffered, and for me, unfortunately, I've had more than life's share of this kind of, I'll call it abuse, I'll call it bad marriage, living with a mentally ill woman, taking that abuse for what amounted to a total of 40 years, 20 during the marriage and 20 after, till she just died, of having businesses stolen out from under me, promises broken, nothing I could have foreseen or done anything about. And what I'm left with is trying to maintain happiness and optimism, pushing 80 years old, always expecting more of the same. And I try not to react other than rationally to it, but sometimes in an instant a thing triggers me and I just react. And if I happen to have my finger on the button, bad things happen. I would never or could not handle being president of the United States. Couldn't handle it. The minute somebody looked at me sideways, the missiles would be flying. And shortly thereafter, I would realize what I had done, and I would understand exactly why, and I would be self-aware and honest enough to know why, and try to do the best I could to fix it. But it would be too late. That's why I have to be very careful when any major, unreversible decisions come up, and I've learned to handle it over the years. But I'm stuck with this. And if you love me, you're stuck with it too. It can be entertaining. Of course, I've learned how to inject some comedy into my sometimes irrationality. Sometimes the fact that what's on my mind just flies out of my mouth. And I don't want to censor myself. I want to be me. Sometimes I say things I don't mean. I really don't mean deeply. They're reactions. We all do it. The key, I think, if you're going to even control it a little bit, is to be aware of what you're doing at least and admit it to yourself that you do have this problem. Just like addiction. You do have this problem. You can't just make believe it doesn't exist because it'll screw up your life. You can't control it. So you try to manage it. And that's, I think, my best talent. I'm not always successful in managing either my reaction to things or my cravings and my carbohydrate addiction, but I've gotten to a point in my life where very rarely do I do anything stupid, and very rarely do I do anything I regret anymore. But this last week, a couple of things I've regretted. And is Kelsey still here? If Kelsey's still here, and even if he isn't, I regret that maybe I've said some things or opinions that maybe I should have kept quiet. As far as my friend Rick goes, Charger Mopar, he got under my skin. And I think I was justified about that. I think that there's too much distraction in my chat. Now, did I handle it the right way? I handled it the Mitch way. Unfortunately, I handled it my way. Get the F out, because that's my ultimate cure for what aggravates me. Don't argue with it. Don't debate with it. Don't fight it down. Just run away from it. Get it out of your life. And that's the reason why I'm so quick to tell people, go away. It's a lot of work when you're dealing with this many people at one time to want to have a discussion with each and every one of them. If there's things about them that bother you, to actually try to, in a nice and not hurtful way, fix or get them to realize that what they're doing bothers you. And in retrospect, when it comes to Rick, I love the guy. I love Rick. He's a good soul. Rick's never done anything to me. Never done anything to me that I could say he's been mean. He's always been very supportive, very understanding. Rick is the opposite of Mitch. If I'm a raging type A personality, Rick is a raging type B. You ever seen Rick raise his voice? No. My father was exactly like Rick. Well, not in diet or anything else, but he was that kind of a guy. Can you imagine growing up in your entire life knowing a father who you have never heard what his raised voice might sound like because he just never raises his voice? Well, that's Rick. And immediately after the stream ended yesterday, I felt bad. I said, I've hurt Rick. But come to find out, Rick wasn't really that hurt about it because Rick is that kind of a personality. If somebody did that to me, I would say, F you, and they'd be out of my life forever. That's the difference. That's the difference. I could never be like that. Not with my history and experiences and passion and emotion. We're all built a certain way. So last night, going into the private community live stream, the first thing I did was I tried to restore Rick to my channel. I got to tell you, I spent an hour yesterday with YouTube and their nonsense trying to find a place where I could unban Rick from the chat. So I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it because I have banned, and most for very good reason, not just flying off the handle, but about 450 people over the past couple of years. That tells me two things. Number one, it tells me either I'm too quick on the trigger, or it tells me I can't believe that 450 people were so obnoxious, so mean, so hurtful, that I just never wanted to hear from them again. Maybe the truth lies somewhere in between, but it weighs heavily on the obnoxious part, because as I was going through the names of the people I banned, I remembered so many of them, and I remembered what really horrid, mean, angry, opinionated, intolerant. Now would be the perfect place for a really dirty word, but I'm not going to say it, that these people were. But Rick's name wasn't on the list. So I went over it all again. And it's not was a list, and you can't search it. They put it in a little tiny window, scrollable window on one of your settings pages, and you can see about 10 of them or 15 of them at a time, and you have to scroll down. And it takes about a half an hour to get through them, and I went through them twice, couldn't find it. And I said, oh, great, I'm going to have to email YouTube. This is going to take an act of Congress to get Rick back. So we went on the private community live stream, and even though Rick couldn't chat in it, I knew he was watching. I mean, I knew it. I felt it. I know Rick's watching. So I started talking to Rick. Honest to God. I was convinced he was out there and convinced he was listening. So I started talking to him. Rick, I didn't mean to do that. I shouldn't have done it. I don't want to really apologize. At the time, thought I had a very good reason, and I still mean what I said. I can't have you monopolizing my chats, and I got to get rid of the duck thing. It's taken over, and that's not what I'm about. I got to get more serious here. I've been getting emails from people saying, we don't watch you anymore because you're losing the message. Your live streams are becoming nothing but chatting about trivia and nonsense and people distracting you from the things that we're doing. So I took all that to heart, and I figured, this is a very hard situation to figure out. How do I handle it? Can't please everybody. And what you've seen in me over this last week was a ton of inner conversation, which I just did in front of you. Turmoil. How do I fix this? And all the time on top of all that, I'm trying to do an experiment where I'm torturing myself with the temptation of the most addictive carbohydrate to me being in my face for 4 or 5 days. So that's what this week's been like for me. Last night on the live stream, Rick actually came into the panel. And Rick is the kind of a personality, I've never seen him really emotional. So come to find out, he says none of this bothered him really. And that doesn't surprise me. But it would have made me crazy, but it doesn't bother him. And that's Rick. It's the difference in personalities. Actually, the chat's gone crazy today. Holy cow. I have to start looking at it. Maybe I shouldn't look at it. And I told Rick pretty much what I just said to you. I kind of pulled the trigger. It was triggered by one particular comment where I thought he was saying he's not going to listen to me. I just got done telling Rick, we're going to have to get rid of the ducks. We're going to have to get rid of we have to do this, do that. And right at that point, a chat comes up from him and said, the ducks are staying. Now, he probably meant he's not getting rid of his ducks. The ducks are part of his life. It's his theme. It's his motif. But I took it as, the hell with you. I'm going to continue to do the things that are just interrupting you. That's how I read it. And I said, yeah, no, the ducks aren't staying. And I hit him. That's how I react to things. That's not what he meant, but that's what I read into it. And that's where my PTSD, my hair trigger, my need to put distance between me and whatever triggered me, the fight or flight response in me is amplified, and it is never to fight. I've done that. It's always caused me too much pain, aggravation, and money. My default is flight. I know that. There's nobody on the planet can psychoanalyze me like I can psychoanalyze myself, and I'm honest with myself, and that's something that's you don't see very often. And when I do something wrong, I feel conscience. I feel sorry that I did it. I want to try to make it right if I can. And hope whoever it is or whatever it was understands. I think that my inability to really even go through that process anymore is 20 years of marriage to a bipolar, paranoid, schizophrenic victim, alcoholic, who never would take responsibility for anything she did and always have to blame somebody else, and that was me. So if you know what it's like to be charged with a crime that you didn't commit and have to sit in court for 20 years while you listen to the prosecution demean you, yell at you, accuse you, and you know you're innocent, I lived. That was my life for 20 years. It damaged me. I've talked about that before. I know that that's it. I've psychoanalyzed myself. And that thing with Rick yesterday was just a small example of why you don't poke the bear with Mitch. And that's what it was. You don't poke the bear. Unless I know you, I mean really know you, and you try to bust on me, I will take it wrong. If I know you, you can bust on me all you want, but I got to know you first. So that's been my week. That's been my week, and you guys have gone along for the ride. Whether it's been must have been an interesting ride. I got a lot of comments and a lot of entertaining. See, DS on 11 says, Rick is hard-headed, ask Curry. Well, see, Rick, that's the thing. Rick knows it too. So he came on a live stream last night, and thank you, Barry Simon, and his artificial intelligence expertise. Because Barry went and found out a way, some backhanded way I never would have thought of, that I could unban Rick. And right on the live stream itself, we went through the process. I had to do it on my cell phone. Found the place where I had to go and do it on Rick's channel, not mine. Believe it or not, I could unban Rick by going to his channel and finding a menu where it said, unhide this user from your channel. I never would have suspected that. So, with great fanfare and milking it for all the drama it was worth, I hit the button and I said, Rick, put an entry in the chat. And Rick said, this is a test, and Rick was back, and I want to put all this behind us, but I thought that I was obligated to tell the story this morning. So Rick is back, and I know Rick will respect my wishes. I know that I want to talk about helpful things, that people come here to help them with their problems, support them, hear their stories, and maybe some of the things I've learned, especially what I just learned about this blueberry experiment. I can tell them what happened to me, and maybe they can apply it to themselves, if it's even possible. Or maybe even get people to be able to analyze their own level of addiction and whether they actually even need to worry about such fine points of the carnivore lifestyle. Because I think most of us have the wrong idea from what I'm seeing out there. And that's accounting for all the conflicting messages, especially this latest round of, do I need to add carbs? Have I been a carnivore too long? It can make you crazy. When in reality, carnivore is the simplest lifestyle ever. And if you're not a carb addict, like Rick isn't, you don't even have to think about it. You don't even understand why other people are going through such hell. Because they're not, if you're not an addict. If you have certain different levels of addiction, you're going to react differently, and you have to take different steps. And I always like to use alcoholism as an example, although it's a wildly different addiction, has to be treated in a different way, different causes, especially historical causes. It's an addiction nonetheless, and it's a great example of the spectrum And that's a great word because we're starting to use that everywhere. We use it with disease. We use it with studies. They talk about the spectrum of lab test results. Autism spectrum. Spectrum is a rainbow. And the problem with the addiction spectrum is that may be the first time in human history that those two words have been put together. It's just not talked about. So when somebody accuses you of being an addict, you right away take it as an insult and picture the crack user, on the corner. But you have to, I think we have to look at addiction in a new way, and we have to talk about the addiction spectrum. I tried that a couple of years ago with a video where I put up a test. How strong an addict are you? I had a bunch of questions, and then you scored yourself, and I never used the word spectrum. I didn't make the connection. But I'm beginning to learn that like so many things that we tend to focus on in our quest for good health, everything is a spectrum. And until we identify where we are individually on all these different spectrums, we can't put together a finely tuned and tailored program, which is really simple. It's just which program should we be on? Should we be on carnivore? Should we be keto? Can we be Paul Saladino and eat 350 grams of fruit a day? We're all so different. Whose advice am I listening to? Am I listening to advice of somebody that lives on the same point of the spectrum as me? Because what I need to be doing isn't what they need to be doing. And alcoholism is a great example. Some people smell alcohol and they're off the wagon, into the bottle, life ruined, in the gutter. Some people like me could take an evening bath in a bathtub full of alcohol and not want to drink a drop and try very, very, very hard during that whole bath to keep any of it from getting in my mouth because I don't like it. I don't want it in my body. How can two people be so wildly different on such a different end of the spectrum when it comes to the same substance? And that's true of everything in our lives. We all have different tolerances for everything, different personalities. What makes some people angry makes other people laugh. We are so different because we all came up through different paths. And we're a combination of God knows how many different genetic things, experiences. So I think we need to start looking at this addiction on a spectrum. And I think before you even start to figure out how to handle whatever level you're at, you need to define where you're at. And I think that's responsible for any differences in the messaging between what my buddy Kelsey has and I have. And it's not a disagreement because neither is right or wrong. Neither approach. And addiction is probably the only thing we wildly disagree on. But we don't agree on the power of positive attitude and the power of positive thought. We don't agree at all on that. We don't agree on almost anything. We agree on everything. But the major disagreement between Kelsey and I is my stance on addiction is it's the biggest problem. It is the reason for all the ill health in the world today. It is the reason why we are so easily manipulated by the food companies and their scientists researching better and more ways to give us foods that are in the what they call bliss point that we can't stop. The foods where they can advertise to us, bet you can't eat just one. No, that's a double-barrel middle finger from the food companies. They got us. They own us. Like the drug dealer on the corner owns the crack addict. My experience and the experience of so many, and in my case, a firm believer and understanding the mechanisms of how a positive attitude, how what we call mind control, how all the motivational books that I've read and written, that if you can believe it, you can achieve it. Power of positive thinking. Fake it till you make it. All that stuff really works, and there's a reason why it works, but it doesn't work in fighting addictions. The addictions win every time because all the positive mental attitude stuff is in your conscious mind. I hope you follow me, but I hope you're listening. The positive mental attitude is in your conscious mind, not your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is a machine that's running on programming. Your computer doesn't have an attitude, positive or negative. The person at the keyboard has the attitude and pretty much tells the computer what it wants to do. But there's so many things in the computer that you don't have control over because it's part of its programming, its operating system. Well, if you start viewing your subconscious mind as a computer, and you start viewing your conscious mind as the person sitting at the keyboard, you can better understand the relationship between the two. The positive attitude part that Kiltz believes, and I believe too, cannot change the operating system significantly enough to do anything but maybe make a little suggestion. So your major positive attitude, I can succeed. It will work or it won't work. If it works, it's because the subconscious mind sees it as a command or a desire or something that you're trying to accomplish, and it starts working on it. An addiction, on the other hand, is an ancient response to the pleasure and pain methodology of urging the animal to do what it wants. And the programming is so deep in our operating systems that it's not easily influenced. Now, what the positive attitude will get you to do, and acting positive, will start to put things out into the world with a more positive spin, and the world will react to you in a more positive way, and eventually that will lead to success, and it works. But the addiction is too deep, rooted in our operating systems. We have very little control over them. And basically, I finally succumbed to the fact, because I spent my life trying to figure out how to overcome the difference between a conscious, positive thought and the reality of my sex drive, of my addiction for certain food, of all the basic human needs for life and survival. And I found that it's not as easy to affect a change as it is easy to say, I want to walk around all day smiling so people think I'm happy when you're not really happy. That's easy. That's happening in your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind is a machine trying to accomplish the task of monitoring and regulating all of your biological and physiological functions, keeping you alive, fighting disease, monitoring the immune system, hundreds of millions of chemical reactions every minute, keeping on track of it, monitoring the results, checking your blood sugar levels, adjusting your heartbeat from second to second rate, your breathing rate, constricting all the blood vessels in your body to regulate your blood sugar. It's busy, busy, busy. Or you'll die. And that's the most important thing. And that is why you can't stop eating Doritos. Because the Doritos scientifically trigger the mechanisms that go right to that deep level of your subconscious. And we can only try to affect our body chemistry, and the only way to cure addiction is to change your physiology. And I discovered after 75 years, the only way to effectively change that physiology for me was a carnivore diet, was 0 carbs. That's it. It all boils down to that. I could talk for days about the mechanisms, but that's the reality, and it is observable in all of us that are hardly addicted to carbs. I mean, not hardly as it little, but hard addiction to carbs. Observable in us and unbelievable by those that aren't. And some combination, gray area of those two extremes all across the spectrum. So you want to know what in my if I had a program, and sold the book, I would say, step 1, are you a carb addict? And here's how you tell. Take this test. Okay, yes, I'm a carb addict. Okay, where on the carb addiction spectrum do you fall? Again, another barrage of tests. Tests. How long can you hold out in front of a piece of chocolate cake without eating? Things like that. We're trying deep dive into how much of an addict are you. And find, I'm a 80, I'm a 60, I'm a 0, I'm a 100. Okay, find your level. And then we have to, through trial and error and experimentation of people who are honest with themselves, we have to basically be able to come up with a recommended number of carbs you can eat a day without going over the edge. What's the threshold? What's your trigger point? For me, it's 1 blueberry. I mean, that's it. Where do I fall on the spectrum? I fell off the spectrum a long time ago in a lot of ways. I see a busy chat and everybody's asking me questions and things, and I'm trying to get to a point here, and I wish everybody just stop chatting and listen to me. That's why we're here. What I'm saying now is what I think is the answer to our problem. And the answer to our problem isn't in, should I eat this steak or that steak? I'm talking about significant stuff here. The reason why I'm doing this, and you're not paying attention. You don't have to pay attention, but nobody can help you in here. Nobody in this chat knows enough about what I'm talking about to actually give you advice that might be as good as the advice that I'm giving you. Even you, Peter, maybe you should stop typing for a minute and actually listen and try to follow me through this, because these things that I talk about took me a lifetime to put together, to understand, and I keep building on it. Barry Simon just asked you a question about self-talk and the subconscious mind. Yes, I'm talking about all that, but that's a whole nother. That's a book right there, Barry. That's a whole book I could write on that subject. And I'm trying to figure out a way within 15 minutes to get people interested enough in the concept of what I'm talking about to say, maybe there's something there. Maybe that's where I need the direction I need to go to solve my individual problem and stop taking this one-size-fits-all generic advice from the thousands of people out there that are telling me what I need to do. Because nobody can give advice to everybody, because everybody needs different advice. Our medical system today, it's got to the point where that doesn't happen. You have high cholesterol, here's a statin. That's an example of a travesty of hurting as many people as you might help, because the cholesterol has its own spectrum, which accounts for so many things. What's your BMI? What's your metabolic health? What's this? What's that? All that has to be taken into account. Not just one number, but they all settle in and take the easy way out. Well, I'm trying to help here. I really want to help. It frustrates me beyond belief that I have a handle. I'm like Jonas Salk, who woke up one day and said, I've discovered the polio vaccine, and then find out nobody cares and nobody listens. And if that had happened, the polio vaccine, or I may be deluding myself. I may be totally wrong about what I'm saying, but that's how fabulous discoveries happen. They happen as a theory that everybody else blows to hell. Everything that we discovered in the history of our human existence, the first people that thought about things in this way or applied other things to something that they're trying to solve were viewed as kooks. Atkins, still being viewed as a kook. And Ansel Keys is a hero. And look where it got us. None of that's changed. So here I am, think I'm on a verge to a simple solution to this. And I'm trying to lay out what I know is going to be vilified as a whack-ball theory. But I know that after 75 years of doing it the wrong way and seeing the results, I've learned that at least at my end of the spectrum it works, is seeing the people who fail, the people who can eat the carbs, the people that can't eat the carbs, comparing it to other things that have similarities. I've come up with what I think is a way to help people with their carb addiction, but it takes an intense knowledge of yourself, honesty with yourself, and the ability to share it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to charge anybody for this. But I think it would be a shame for it not to be explored to the hilt and die a natural death because everybody needed to talk about something trivial while good old Mitch, who keeps already tore all my hair out, says, how do I get them to listen to me? I tried writing a book, I tried doing this, I tried talking on YouTube, and all I get is abuse, insults, and frustration from people who know nothing or think they know more than me. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong. But wouldn't it be a shame if I'm right? Wouldn't it be a shame if I happen to be the guy smart enough to come up with some revolutionary concept or think about something in a way that nobody else thought about it before, to find an obvious answer that's been there right in front of everybody all the time? You don't think that's ever happened in the past? You don't think that gravity, for example, hasn't been an obvious phenomenon since the beginning of time? But it took Isaac Newton to have an apple hit him on the head, falling out of a tree, for him to recognize or discover gravity? Gravity's been there all along. Well, the answer and the reason and the things that make us act the way we do and have the problems we have been there all along. we just haven't seen the patterns and the big picture, and I've done that all my life. So I want people to just pay attention. Maybe I got something. Let's start the conversation along those lines. Along those lines. Big problem. People, if my morning live stream was a college classroom, I couldn't teach anybody anything. I couldn't do it. Could not accomplish one thing if this morning live stream was a college classroom. Well, the reason why is I have 134 viewers now, but by the time this live stream ends, it will tell me I've had 380 views, 400 views. What does that mean? The class has turned over 3 times during the course of this lecture. 3 times during the course of this lecture, the students were just wandering in and out, coming in the middle of some thought and leaving before the thought was over. And while they were there, they didn't even listen. They look at the chat, they said, "Hi everybody, what did I miss?" And then they just walked out. So of the 384 people, maybe 30 or 40 were actually in class for the whole lecture. The rest of the people, they aren't going to benefit from what I say. There's nothing I can do about that, unfortunately, but that's what I got to work with. So you're all coming, you're all going, and while you're here, you don't know what's going on, so you inject your own self into the conversation and bring up another topic that just distracts more and more people. Bob Black just came in and said, "Good morning, everybody." Hi, Bob, how are you? Now, I could do one of two things. I can sit there like most people do and just have a party. I could just watch the chat, say hello to everybody, how you doing, talk about trivia, everybody be happy. I'd actually make 3 times the money on YouTube I'm making now. Or I could try to do some good and try to help. And I'm trying. I'm not angry. It's just frustrating because I can help you. I helped me. So rather than at this point, even if I made a video for posterity, a legacy video, I get a graph of how many people watched the whole thing. Nobody makes it to the end of most of these videos. At least 50% or more of the people are usually gone after the first 30 seconds. Same thing. We have no attention spans anymore. Thank you, social media. Thank you, TikTok. Thank you, YouTube Shorts. Thank you, transaction overload and too much information. We don't ever stop, sit down, have a discussion, and then a conversation, evaluating the discussion, relax, have a cup of coffee, think about what we've learned. We don't have time for that anymore. What's the result of it? The young people today aren't learning a damn thing. They know a lot of facts. It's killing them. Their abilities for rational and logical thinking are non-existent. They've never had a chance to develop. They've been bombarded with flashing, shiny things since they were 3 days old. It can't end well. Who recognizes that? Us old folks. We remembered the slower days. They were much better than this. We didn't have all the strife. But I digress, which I do very easily. So I want and I'll never change it overnight, but I woke up and I just said, I'm beating a dead horse with this particular paradigm of my morning live stream. I'm helping a few people who are trying to get my message through the noise, ignoring the noise. But in reading so many emails from so many of you who tell me that it's becoming more and more impossible for me to stay on my message because of the constant distractions. I know Peter wants me to see the questions. We're going to do it differently, Peter. I need to talk to you about this, but I'm going to have a whole new, I don't want to know about a question when you notice it. I don't want to have to stop what I'm doing because I can't. Once I go off in a different direction, I'm off that subject, and I never finish it. And I notice it lately in watching my replays. I see that I start to go off in a different direction, get distracted by the shiny, noisy thing, and never get back to finish the point I was trying to make in the first place. That doesn't do anybody any good, because some of those points were pretty good. But I never finish it. And I see it happening. And I analyze my own live streams. That's where I noticed all of these problems. I want to be more of a lecturer, less of Q&A, more of discussions on a particular topic. And if you don't have a question relating to that topic, now would not be the time. I don't want to deal with the people pop in the middle of everything, type QQQ. I think I'm eating too much salt. How do I know? And then have them say, I asked a question, but he ignored me. You know, imagine this is a college lecture hall, and I'm the professor, and you're there to learn something. Because I hope that's why you come in here. I try to make it entertaining. But think about how the professor would react with the distractions that we have in a live stream here this morning. With a student wandering in when the class is half over, and before he even sits down, he starts yelling out at the top of his lungs, answer this question, Professor, blah, 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 blah. The football team isn't doing so good. What do you think the football team should do to do better? The professor would throw him out and kill him, and probably forget where he was and the class would be over. Well, that's what happens to me every day here, and it's so frustrating. Because I have what boiled down to easy to understand and simple solutions to so many of the problems we have, but you'll never understand them unless I can lead you through my logic and let you know how I came. YouTubers try to do that. Ken Berry tries to do that, but nobody ever does. Nobody ever follows. Ken Berry gives you his findings on a particular subject. Just exactly how much fat do you need in a day? And then he says, I put in the description below the resources that I used to come to this conclusion. And if you wondered why I think this, their answers are there. They do that in books. Footnotes, bibliographies, references. Nobody ever reads them. Nobody ever looks. They do them in every medical study. It's got pages and pages and pages of references. And oftentimes you can't find the fraud or the misconceptions until you actually dig deep into the references and find out that's where the misconception is, and that's how come the results came out totally wrong. Since nobody goes that deep, and in all of these studies on cholesterol, it took Nina Teicholz and Gary Taubes to have the gumption and the time to actually analyze that deep into these studies before they exposed the fact they were pure fraud and manipulation and invalid at all levels. But by that time, it's too late. It has become truth. Well, you can't do that if you're interrupted. You can't know that or understand it unless you're actually willing to sit through an explanation of why this works, because otherwise you'll never be convinced. And even if you think it's a good idea, tomorrow some other guy, because you're watching 37 people with 87 different ideas, will come along and tell you, no, you don't do that, you need to do this, and off you go, and all that work is for nothing. And good old Mitch, still sitting here, happily on a 100% carnivore diet, keeping his level 10 carb addiction completely from bothering me, unless I let it by doing a blueberry experiment, not feeling deprived, never cheating, never cheat, never cheating, never succumbing to an addiction so strong. How do I do it, Mitch? Everybody wants to know. I'm trying to tell you, but I can't just tell you do it like me, because you're not like me. If you are like me, you can do it like me. Simple, easy peasy. 0 carbs. You do 0 carbs long enough, and your body chemistry changes. See, you can't control your body chemistry by just wanting not to eat carbohydrates. You can't just have a positive attitude. The mind is not the master. The subconscious mind is the master. Let me say that again. You hear the expression, the power of the mind. The mind is the master. It's all willpower. Which mind? You have two. You have two distinct. You have the original mind, the animal mind, the mind that has evolved over hundreds of millions or billions of years by surviving and modifying this programming. Not modifying it by a programmer, but by combining its programming with another organism's programming and seeing if the result, combination of the two, was better than worse than the previous. That's how it works. It's all random and accidental. It relies on the organisms basically having sex. It's why inbreeding never ends well. It's why the wider and broader the diversity of the offspring, the better the species' chances of survival, because there's more experiments. The N is bigger. It's not just an N of 1. It's an N of 1,000,000,000,000. And out of that trillion, maybe one of them proves to be better. And that one mates with another one. And then that new line of that species moves forward. And that experiment continues millions of generations over eons of time and continually refines itself by surviving, mixing half of what it is with half of what the other one is, and the combination is a little different, and that little difference is better or not. That's evolution. Something many people will not accept. Could not have happened any other way. It accounts for why we're all different, but it also accounts for why we all have so much in common. And we don't have to go back very far to find our last common ancestor. Another topic that you could talk on for hours. How does that relate to what I'm trying to do? I factor all of that into any kind of, how is it really working, theory that I might come up with, and I'm pretty good at it. I would have made a brilliant doctor if I didn't want to put up with the bullshit, but I didn't want to put up with the bullshit. I don't like to be taught. I like to learn. Different story. I don't like to read books, because what do I care what somebody else thinks? More than likely, they're just been propagandized like most everybody else. Why do I need to do I want to read a book on proper nutrition and be told that fruits and vegetables and low fat and lean chicken breasts That's what you find in most books. Why would I want to read books? How about the great philosophers? What the hell did they know 300 years ago? There's modern examples of this. Everywhere you look, you just have to recognize what you see. Recognize what you see. I've got theories. I think they work. I think there's a logical progression of steps we need to take before we decide what level of diet, what level of carb restriction we need. How much can we eat before plants kill us? We've got all this conflicting information. Should I drink coffee or shouldn't I drink coffee? Should I smoke cigars or not? Am I getting a net benefit from my cigars? Or should I listen to all those people who keep thinking they're helping me? Oh, you need to stop smoking cigars. How do you know that if I stopped smoking cigars, I wouldn't have such a terrible, detrimental effect on my health and take 10 years off of might have been my life? How do you know that? How do you know the fact that I hadn't smoked cigars for 50 years already is the reason I don't weigh 600 pounds and died 15 years ago? How do you know the cigars didn't stop that from happening? Because the cigars pretty much are an addiction that replaces in large amount my carbohydrate addiction, which would have been much more harmful to me over those 50 years. The damage that would be done by eating 300 grams of carbs a day over 50 years, the diabetes, the dementia, the heart disease, no way I would have made it to this age. 10 years ago, I would have had my feet cut off. I would have been blind. But because I smoked cigars, it satisfied me. It was an addiction that gave me the dopamine and the relaxing hit and serotonin and everything, and I didn't get hungry, and I didn't eat that stuff. How do you know the cigars didn't save my life? No, but you don't know. I don't know. But just as well as I also know they didn't kill me either. So you can't be so quick to judge. There's always more than one obvious answer to anything, and you have to stop and slow down. Stop just listening to the noise for 30 seconds, and if you got any logical thinking ability, and we all do, let it think. Let it think. Ponder. Give your computer a chance to actually process the input before you start cramming, just like your diet. Give your body time to digest your food before you start cramming more food into it. Let your washing machine finish a load of laundry before you throw the next load of dirty laundry on top of it. Slow down. Slow down. It's tough to do in this world. We're all on a treadmill and they keep cranking up the speed. So I'm not going to get much educating done today, that's for sure. It's already after 8 o'clock. I haven't even declared a winner this morning. We'll forget that. I'm going to say hello to everybody. Everybody. See, Retired Rick says, I don't always listen while he talks. I like to chat with people, some, and he says something that I hear, I will listen. Rick, think about what you just said. When he says something that I think I want to hear, I'll listen. Well, if you're not listening, how are you going to know? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, my friend. And that's the problem. You can't do both. You just can't do both. You can't listen to me, and you can't be chatting. And what I'm telling you is detrimental to my success on YouTube, because YouTube thinks that the more the people chat, the more benefit and the more views they're going to get and more advertising they're going to sell. So they use what they call interaction, and you get more, 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 you promotion from YouTube, the more interaction you have. That's why everybody asks you to. That's why Ken Berry says to you, "Where are you from? Put in the chat where you are, who you are, and where you're coming from." Well, he doesn't give a shit about who you are and where you. You know, that's just another. He just wants to give YouTube more what's seemingly interaction. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Everybody does. I do just the opposite, and it hurts me because I want to help you, and all that chatting keeps me from helping you. So I'm an idiot in that respect. I'm a self-destructive moron on YouTube. I don't play by any of their rules. Never do I ever say, share this video with a friend. I just don't do that shit. You know, I'm trying to help, and it frustrates me when I can't because you're just not paying attention. So chat away. You're going to hear 10% of what I say, and what you do here is going to be totally out of context. I never get a chance to finish a thought because I get interrupted and misdirected before the thought is finished. So it's almost impossible for me everybody in the chat just wants me to over here, my thing is more important. I got a question for you, Mitch. I got a question. How many grams of carbs should I eat a day? And I'm sitting here trying to tell you, nobody could possibly know that. That's what we have to figure out. And the factors that are necessary to consider, one of the most important factors of why can't you stop eating crap food? And you're all, with very few exceptions, still cheating constantly. You're not cheating anybody but yourself. I can help you. I'm not cheating. I'm not cheating. I want to cheat. Occasionally my addiction wakes up a little bit, and this stroke has just, and the hospital has screwed me completely, but I'm back on it now. But I'm still, my subconscious is still in there going, well, Mitch, you know, you could probably moderate. You could probably handle some of these blueberries. Why don't you? And I ended up doing an experiment. I fell for it. It was a trap. And I still haven't had the time to tell you how it came out. It's over. And I'll tell you that on Sunday. But for today, I don't know if I accomplished anything, but I accomplished it in front of 130, 40 people. That's great. That's great. I didn't lose my temper. I did not rant today. I may have become a little stern. But I can tell you, I want to help. I'm not expecting you to join. I mean, the private community we have is not for educational purposes. It's for fun. We very rarely talk about carnivore in the private community. That's where we let our hair down and have a good time among friends. I'm not asking you to join my private community to get an education. I'm not asking you for tuition. I'm not trying to sell you any courses. I'm not trying to sell you books. I'm not, I don't want to be a personal coach to you. I want to just have people sit and try to follow me through the logic of why I think I can succeed with no effort, no torture, no cravings, no brainer. Me, what I think the most carb addicted human being on the planet Earth that suffered for 75 years of caving to those cravings, of yo-yo dieting so many times I get tired of bouncing off the ground. And this fixed me, and I know why. I could have stumbled on it by accident, but I know why, and it makes sense, and I can explain it. Now the problem is getting this tumultuous mass of humanity slowed down long enough to actually listen, stop interrupting me, and let me go through it. Let me finish the lecture. And for God's sakes, if you want to help, if you're here to get help, you got to listen to the lecture. If you're here for selfish and personal reasons, if you're here because you have a particular problem and you're just looking for the answer, if you're the guy that puts in Ken Berry's chat, my HDL is this, my LDL is this, my thyroid hormones are that, the other thing, what's wrong with me, go see a doctor. No, there's lawnmowers. Go see a doctor. Don't come here and ask me. I can't help you. You're not going to get the answers. You're not going to get any answers anywhere on the internet to your personal medical questions. Oh, I'm joining Ken Berry's private community for $30, $50 a month and go to a Zoom call with him. He still can't legally answer your medical questions. He can try to insinuate things, but he's not your doctor. And the real problem is your doctor is a moron. So where do you go for help? Well, come to Mitch and just shut up and listen for a while and stop worrying about your own personal problem and listen to why this problem exists in the first place. And in there might be an answer for you that negates all this other mind-boggling quest you're on. Who's got the right answer? That's the best I can do. That's the best I can do. That's what I want to do. I'm willing to do it. I got the time to do it. I got nothing else to do. I want to spend the rest of whatever I got left of my life at least being relevant. Not just some old retired fart waiting to die, because otherwise that's what I'd be. The amount of work I do on the side that I need to make all the money I need to make basically takes me, when I think about it, it's a couple hours a week. What am I going to do, watch soap operas all day? So I'm here and I'm willing. I'm like the volunteer. I'm like the candy striper in the hospital. Like the retired person that volunteers at the food drive because they just want to be relevant at least. To feel like there's some meaning and I've got all this and I figured all this out, and for me to take it to my grave with me, I think would be crying shame. Why did I work so hard? It works for me. Why did I work so hard if I can't share it with everybody else? But I can't share it if you're not listening. Oh my God, what a conundrum. What a conundrum. Well, listen, everybody, I didn't answer any of your questions today. Retired Rick just came in here because it's fun. Retired Rick, my friend, you're in the wrong place. That's all I can tell you. Because all you're doing is distracting everybody who I want to listen to me. I said I ought to just turn off the chat and get rid of all the people that only come here to chat. And maybe that's not a bad idea, but I need to be able to, if you have a comment or a question, I can't just be talking. I want to be interacting with people who are interested in the topic. How do I do that? Let me know. Let me know how I do that. Email me. Put a comment on the replay. Because I'm not going to read this chat. I'm not going to even look at it. It'll just prove my point that I'm just yelling out into the abyss and nobody's listening. So why should I aggravate myself? But I need to make this more. But I've got something to say. I want to say it to people who are interested and want to listen. There's plenty of places. I read the entire chat as I watched Kiltz's live stream this morning. And it's the same thing. Hell. In less than 10 minutes, I counted more than 50 50 chat entries between Rick and Peter. Go back and look at the replay. 50 of them. 50 chat entries talking about nothing that was being presented by all the guests, by Kiltz, by Nelson. 50 entries in less than 10 minutes. I was counting them up. It was an experiment. I'm sitting there going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They didn't need Kiltz's live stream for that. They didn't need to fill up the chat with that. Breek's phone number. Breek's got his phone number on his website. Peter could have called him and they could have talked, had a conversation. That's gone in our society. It doesn't happen anymore. People don't talk anymore. They text, they chat, they go on social media. Their lives are reduced to 10-second, 30-second blurbs. Nobody slows down anymore. And it amazes me. And it happens to mine. And I'm just saying, do it, please. If you're not interested in what I'm trying to do to help you, don't come here. Retired Rick, if that's the reason you come here, I'm better off if you stayed away. Nothing personal. I don't demand that anybody comes here. But there are people that come here because they're looking for some insight and want to be able to sit in a quiet classroom and maybe find their answer, or maybe not. It's that quiet classroom that's become impossible to find in our world anymore. It's that place you can actually consider things without 100 distractions coming at you from everywhere, 25 commercials blasted into your head, where you can actually go onto the computer screen and read an article that you want to read without it being divided up into paragraphs this big with this much advertising. And you got to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. There's a little more, but okay, go ahead and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. That's what our lives are like now. We can't live this way. And we're worried about our cortisol levels. Everything is aggravating. So even if you just consider this a safe, sane, and believe me, I will not be ranting. I'm a great teacher. I never thought I was a teacher, but I've been told. There's so many over the course of my life, from the days that I taught flying to when I taught people how to build drones. And I've taught salesmanship and sales tactics and closing methods. I've taught everything. Everything that I've ever done, I've turned out being a teacher. And I am a natural teacher, and I can explain things in a manner that people make it understandable by using analogies in a talented way. Because people aren't going to understand the science. Nobody's going to understand me if I start quoting the names of biological pathways. That is not how you teach. So, to teach, you need a class. For the class to learn, they need to pay attention without distractions. That's why college lectures are not held in the middle of a busy subway station. They're in a lecture hall where you don't disrupt the class. You don't make noise. You don't have conversations that annoys the whole class. You have to be in a situation where you can actually follow what's going along, every word of it. because every word is important. And if you're not following along, you're going to come away from that class thinking you heard something that was really never said. It was just your misinterpretation of what you heard out of context with the missing words that you were too busy talking to somebody else. So, retired Rick says, sorry, bye everyone. Okay, Rick. Nothing personal. That wasn't just directed at you. That was directed at anybody who thinks they're coming to a party. I don't expect you to be miserable. I want you to have a good time. I want it to be interesting. Or else, why would you come here? I'm not trying for more viewer numbers. That don't mean anything to me. I don't get paid for the number of viewers, the number of clicks. Then nothing. I get paid about $2-3 1,000 for views on a video on YouTube. So, if I had 800 people come and see me, what do I make? $1.75? Do I care if I make $1.50 instead because 20 people didn't come? Am I the only one left living in a real world without all this nonsense? Maybe. Maybe I'm just outlived my usefulness on this planet. That's what happens to old people. You ask anybody that's getting older, I'm not relevant anymore. Nothing I have interests anybody anymore. I'm not interested in anything they have, so I'll just sit here and watch TV. And that's so sad. Because some of the best minds on the planet don't become the best minds until they get old. And if they're still managed to be healthy enough where their brain still works and not go senile, then those are the people we should be listening to. If you can find somebody who's 100 years old who still has all their faculties and is sharp as a tack, you should do everything you can and spend as much time with that person. Shut your mouth and just listen. Just listen. You will learn so much. It's incredible that you thought you knew when you were a kid, because everybody knows we get dumber when we get older, according to the kids. All right, my friends. I haven't driven you all the way. Rick, you're welcome here, but just don't disrupt the class. Is that too much to ask? And if you don't want to go to school anymore, you're really not interested in slowing down a little and maybe trying to figure this shit out rather than trying in your own minds. What I seem to be is watching 50 different carnivore videos every day and trying to find something that's actionable in your circumstance. It can't work. It can't work. It's like going into Baskin Robbins and trying to pick from 300 flavors which one you want. It's too much. You're better off having a choice between chocolate and vanilla. You're much more likely to be happy with your selection. Simplify it. This is simple. This is so easy to do. So easy. And it's easy to have it work. But it doesn't work for most people. I saw Anthony Chafee had a video. 92% of it. You're missing this, he says. 92% of people fail carnivore. You're missing this. Well, that's clickbait. Missing what, Anthony? Well, click here and find out. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't even do that anymore. You try to entice me to watch your video. Just tell me what you're going to say and I'll decide if I want to watch it. Well, that we'll get a lot of views. We're all guilty of that. Got to try to make it enticing. That's another thing I hate about YouTube. It's just as phony as the rest of the world. It's just as phony as the news babe who tells you something outrageous and then says story at 11. A teaser. Everything is a teaser. I'm tired of being teased. I'm too old to be teased anymore. It doesn't work on me anymore. It repels me now. I hide channels. I see a clickbaity, I don't care who it is. I see a clickbaity thumbnail, I hide the channel. That's my reaction time these days. It might be the most brilliant thing in the world, but you presented it to me in a fraudulent manner, and I'm not don't want to know you. Go away. That's my attitude, and it spreads to everything. An interesting way to live. So, decorum. Trying to establish some decorum here. It may take a few days. You notice my new thumbnail today said carb addiction right on the thumbnail. Carb addiction. That's what the new live stream is about. I have I bought a domain name yesterday, which I own now. It doesn't go anywhere yet because it hasn't been set up, but carbaddictionhelp.com. Because that's my mission. That's my mission. To number one, even if it's just a little bit, to make the subject of carb addiction actually a real thing. Because very few people are talking about it, and often they mislabel it. Food addiction. You're a food addict. No, you're not. You're a carbohydrate addict. You're not addicted to food. You're addicted to carbohydrates. You're addicted to a substance. Because you're not addicted to broccoli, and you're not addicted, you're addicted to sugar, but let's broaden it out and say carbohydrates, because all carbohydrates are sugars in the chemical sense of the word. So carbaddictionhelp.com is going to be, I'm not doing away with Old Guy Carnivore. I'm still Old Guy Carnivore. But my message is going to be that you may not have to be carnivore. Carnivore may be too extreme for you. You could be maybe Mediterranean and not have to completely ruin your family and social life. You can eat a piece of birthday cake occasionally and fit in with society and still live to be 90 or 100, because people do. How do you know whether you can or can't? How do you know if you can't live healthy any other way than being a strict carnivore? No carbs, no plants. And that's what we have to find out. And that's what we have to talk about. Because until you find out what part of the spectrum that you're on, you can't answer any of those other questions. We need to start looking at this, diagnosing it, and prescribing in a completely different mindset. That's what I want to do, because then I'll be really helping. I help myself, and I'm doing great. I'm not hungry. The blueberries are gone. It's funny how I ended it. You'll get a kick out of it, and I will talk to you about it if I stop getting interrupted. I'll do it on Sunday morning. I'm going to take tomorrow off. I'm not making any videos for a few days, maybe a few weeks. I don't know. I'm tired of working that hard, accomplishing nothing. But I think if I'm going to do any good, and time will tell, I may be completely out of my mind, on the wrong track, missing something very important, and delusional. Or not. I think I'm right. But again, Atkins thought he was right. Jonas Salk thought he was right. Am I in that league? Probably not, but am I a clear thinker and a logical mind and a great analyst and a fabulous troubleshooter? Hell yeah. That much I know. Is my IQ almost 160? Yes, it is. Does that make me a strange bird? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Am I an ego? Do I have a big ego? I have no ego. I have the opposite of ego. I have an inferiority complex, believe it or not. That explains my wild need to be loved and accepted. I know myself. And I think all of that, when you add it together, makes me a fairly decent person and somebody that's not doing any harm to society in general. So let's start out the new week on Sunday morning. We'll do a panel on Sunday. We'll talk about this. But get ready for trying to be more serious. And when I start, we'll take 5 minutes for everybody to settle down. But then, basically, I'm going to start talking about something. If it goes nowhere, or if nobody's interested in it, then we'll chat and have fun, take the rest of the day off. But if I get on something that I think people might benefit from hearing or understanding, I'm going to hope that people pay attention and listen, so I'm not wasting my time. That's what happened today. I was just getting started on something that would have been, what I think, brilliant. But I never got a chance to because I started being distracted by the chats, and so-and-so has a question, and I go and look at the question and what it is, nothing to do with what I'm talking about, and off we go. Off we go. New shiny thing over here, new shiny thing. Ooh, candy. Oh, candy, yeah. And it's over. It's over. I don't work that way. I don't script anything. Everything that I know just is in there. And I don't know where I got it, but I seem to have an uncanny ability to make a half-hour speech without ever thinking about any of it right off the bat. So, but if that speech gets interrupted and I get off down another rabbit hole, what I was talking about is gone. I need to start, and I need to go through it, or at least have the discussion be related to what I'm talking about, so that my mind doesn't immediately try to put together a speech on a whole new subject. It's very strange. Very strange. Jeff Johnson says, this is why I'm here, to learn something. And I'm not so presumptuous as to even think that what I got is absolutely right. It's just, it might work this way. It makes sense that it would work this way. The next logical step in my mind usually is, what other way could it possibly be working? What could possibly else explain? It's like diagnosing a medical disease. You get symptoms, okay? Well, we know that this combination of symptoms usually means one of 6 different diseases. Okay, how do we narrow it down? Or we say, when we finally get the diagnosis, and we say, it's got to be that, the next step would be to say, well, what else could it possibly be, and why? And that's troubleshooting. Diagnosing something is basically just troubleshooting. So, I'll do the best I can for you. I'm going over timing so much again. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for sticking in there with me. Very few bleeps in my language today. I might have let a bullshit come out, but I'm very relaxed. Looking forward to just taking the day off. I want to put some stuff down on paper so that I have some outlines for me to reference, so I don't go off on some tangents, as most teachers do, but I never did that. I've never, not a video I've ever made has been scripted. The ones that are, there were a few with a kind of an outline that I followed, and you could tell because it didn't come out as spontaneous as my usual ones do, where I'm just talking. Like these live streams. I had no idea what I was going to say an hour and a half ago, and yet I never stopped. Donna Ray. Bacon Runner. I saw Main Runner this morning in Kilchie's chat. And I know there was some confusion about your different accounts. So obviously you know which account you're using, because I keep seeing different ones from you. Yeah. And Rick is still chatting. Yes, I figured I was RR. I don't know what that means. Anyway, guys, that's what I want to do. And I'll keep trying until I realize it's impossible for me to do. And then I'll just go do something else. Maybe, with what I know about how YouTube works, I will find a sensational subject matter that usually gets hundreds of thousands of views, start a whole new channel, and within a year, I could have built it up to 1 million subscribers. We'd be making a fortune. Why don't you do it, Mitch, you may ask? And the answer is, why bother? I don't know what I'd do with a fortune right now. I don't care. I don't want one. I have everything I need, more than most. Only thing important to me is my health. And if I see YouTube is starting to affect that, then I better get rid of this YouTube stuff, not look at more work from it more in other ways. So I do this for the love of it, guys. And you guys too. You guys too. Thank you so much. Kooky Carnivore, this is awesome talk, Mitch. Let me give you a little happy music. Play with my push buttons here a little bit. There we go. You say goodbye to everybody in the chat. I say I'm going to take the day off, but I may get bored. And thoughts of popping in with an impromptu live stream with a panel and having a little party over the weekend might just crop up. Just might. In fact, it's probably likely, because I'm not going to be making any videos for the next couple of days. So what am I going to do with my time? Invite my friends over, that's what. So sometime, I don't know when the spirit moves me, we'll probably have a live stream, and it may go for hours. Oh no. That's what's great about life. It's great to be spontaneous. With that being said, my friends, and I see Lori is here. Lori, Donna Kink, Lambs, how you doing? Have a great weekend. Anthony, you too. Aaron is still here. You, Tammy, have a great weekend. Thanks, sweetie. Thanks so much. And Nikki, have a great day. Harry, Dion. Thank you so much. You are very complimentary. I appreciate that. Don Shire, have a great day. Jerry, in the middle of a forest. Jeff Johnson, of course, the name you know. Rick, thanks, Rick. Good to have you here. CB. Yeah, CB says, Rick, I believe he was addressing retired Rick at the time. Yeah, I was, Rick. I was talking to retired Rick, who came here, basically said, I didn't come here to listen to you, I came here to have fun. And I told retired Rick, well, I don't care if that's why you came here, but don't distract us while you're here. Don't stand up in class and start shouting. Sit quietly. And I want people to start to think of this as a classroom. But no, Rick, it's not about you. Rick says, I have been quiet. You've been very well behaved, Rick. I'm going to give you a gold star for today. I'm glad it ended up like it did, because you're a friend, and I would hate to lose you as a friend. But I have to say it again in my effort to get out of here. If I'm going to keep doing this, I've got to have a reason. And the only reason seems to be, it's not money, it's not anything else. It's the fact that maybe some people will benefit from it, and I can be proud of myself and not be irrelevant in this world of nonsense. So, we'll leave it at that. I thought you'll see me again today, so just take the rest of the day off. Have fun. We'll see you when we see you. In the meantime, do what I'm going to do. Eat meat.